What's up, everybody? This is Ben with This, That, and the Other, where we talk about Detroit and MSU sports. And I'm a little late making this video, but the Detroit Pistons get swept by the Milwaukee Bucks, and I want to make this video while it's still fresh in my head. As I said in my last podcast, I did end up going to Game 3 of the NBA playoffs, and it was an interesting experience. Being at Little Caesars Arena for the first time, being at my first ever NBA playoff game or playoff game of any type, and the atmosphere was different than probably what I was used to, even with, Detroit being counted out, sort of. It was still a very electric environment. Everyone there was very passionate, and I guess that's kind of a tribute to the Detroit sports scene. I think, and I really didn't see a lot of people leaving early either. I'm definitely glad I went, and it was cool to see. As far as the arena is concerned, I think I still stand by my original sentiment that the Pistons should have stayed at the Palace, which was their building. I still feel like they kind of threw away that to go and play at a place that is, more known for the Red Wings. And like I said, once you're in your seats and everything, I don't think the experience is any better from what the Palace delivered. There's a lot more fan interaction stuff, a lot more restaurants and everything outside leading up to the game, but that's to be expected with a new stadium. I still, the Palace was so easy. You pay your $15, you park, you walk in. In Detroit, you had, it's like going to a baseball game or a football game. You have to kind of park, maybe 15 minutes away, which is fine, I guess. But, I don't think the accessibility is any better. I think it's, what my preference is. I think it's worse, but it's still fine, and I'll still go to games and everything. But they also had this large fixture above the kind of where the cheap seats are, and it really kind of blocks off your view. It's got like these TVs that you can kind of see the game better if you don't want to look directly at the court, which I don't know why you would go to a game if you're going to just watch it on the monitor the whole time. So that was disappointing. I don't understand why they have it there. It blocks off about, a third of your view, of your sight lines. And, you can't see any of the banners or anything for any of the teams. That's just not as much of an open experience, which I think is the best way to go. But I probably spent too much time talking about the actual facility, but the game itself, we got what we expected. The Bucks steamrolled the Pistons. It wasn't close at any point, really. Last night, or Monday night, they gave a pretty good effort for 2.5 quarters, and, Milwaukee shot a ton more free throws in this game. I'll get into that a little bit in a second, but I think the effort was there, but this team is just not, definitely not built to contend for, being competitive in any of these kind of series. And when I said built, maybe that's not the right word. Some of the pieces, like Andre Drummond, we've been waiting for him to kind of develop into an NBA superstar, and he hasn't been able to do that. He's been an all-star a few times, and he's a great rebounder, but I think I've seen so many times seeing him just look like he was just watching people blow by him to the basket. That's very disappointing, especially when you have elite scorers on Milwaukee. And, he pulled down a lot of offensive rebounds, and when he went back up with it in this series, it seemed like he was getting blocked anytime, whether it was Antetokounmpo, Ilyasova, or Brook Lopez down there, and just making his life miserable and making our life miserable. So, really, really need to see Andre kind of become more of a forceful, dominant player. His skill set is very good. He's got a great left hand hook. He's got kind of a nice bunny shot, which works sometimes. It didn't work in this series because he was that's the only thing he could do because he was trying to avoid getting blocked. But and his physical stature is he has every bit of the strength. Just become a dominant player, and he just needs to work on his game in the off season and get more aggressive when he's down low like that, and either make sure he's either getting fouled or getting an and one. And I don't think there's any reason why he can't do that. So it was just disappointing to see that once he and I don't think any of these players are physical specimens except for Antetokounmpo. I'll say that. Antetokounmpo is the literal Greek freak, like what his nickname implies, and I think he could be the best player in the Eastern Conference or even the NBA for a long time. I think in the coming years you're going to see him be a lot better player than LeBron is, and it'll be interesting to see if he stays with Milwaukee or goes somewhere else. My guess is that he's going to stay. He seems like the kind of loyal person, and I don't have anything against him or the Milwaukee Bucks. I think it'd be interesting to see what they can do in the years to come. But I just thought I'd mention that, Antetokounmpo, really give him his props, and that Milwaukee team is built with a lot of second round, Chris Middleton, who was actually a Piston drafted in the second round, now playing like an all-star. Ilyasova, a long-term kind of journeyman in the NBA, gets a chance to play a vital role. Brook Lopez, a little bit of the same thing, although he's been more notable probably. And he's a terrific player as well. Eric Bledsoe, you talk about all the injuries he had in Phoenix and wherever else he played, and now he's just playing amazing ball in Milwaukee, and they're really set up for success right now, and they're probably the favorites to go to the NBA Finals, and they're just an incredible team, and I'm not going to take anything away from that. I wanted to get back into the officiating thing I was talking about earlier, and my gosh, it was, you're looking at 40 free throw attempts for Milwaukee compared to Detroit's 10, and Milwaukee missed more free throws than Detroit even attempted, and there really needs to be some accountability in the NBA for officiating because, you just can't have that much of a gap. They're not just, Milwaukee's not just playing amazing defense, and Detroit's they're not fouling them every time. I've seen a couple times where Blake seemed like he was getting, hacked on the way to the basket, and he got nothing called for him. Even the superstars for less than teams aren't getting calls. And it seems like Antetokounmpo just get bumped a little bit, and they get the continuation, and he gets an and one. And it might look like a flashy play to everyone else and say that was incredible, but I don't think anyone can really say to themselves, did he deserve to get a foul for that? So the thing the NBA really sucks at is, not really paying attention to their perception that, it's getting out of control. Like the NFL, look at what happened in the NFC Championship game. There was a bad call. Everyone's up in arms, and now the rules changed, and they're a progressive league like that. The NBA has always favored their best teams and their best players, and you just can't win when you're a team like Detroit last night, with the amount of calls that went against them. And do I think they would have won either way? No, but it has to be fair, or else fans are not going to. Why would you continue to watch basketball if you know that your team's not only at a disadvantage from a talent standpoint, from a market size standpoint, but also you're at a disadvantage, getting calls against you in every game. So, I don't think that's right, and I think the NBA has been very they've been behind the 8 ball, or I don't know what the term is, but they've been behind the times in making sure it gets taken care of. I just think that they think these first round series, a lot of people don't pay attention to them, and so they can just kind of get the series over with and get to the next round, and then maybe people will start watching. But maybe that's a stupid take, because obviously a lot of Detroit fans watched, but just doesn't seem like there's any respect for anyone that's not of a certain team or pedigree. So I really think the best thing for basketball is to get fans for every single team, engaged in watching their team. And I think Detroit is probably one of the least engaged when their team is not doing well. And it makes me think of some of the other franchises that don't even have championships, what they must feel like, how their team is being perceived. I'd just like to see a lot more parity, and I'd like to see a lot more fairness. And that's, that's pretty much it on that. I just, I want to see the Pistons get the respect they deserve. I want to see them, become a destination for some players. That's another thing, I don't know. I still can't stand these super teams, because it's always in LA, or it's always in Miami, or, someplace with a big market. And I don't think, it really crushes, some of the smaller market teams. And right now I think you have to say Detroit fits in that category. But I think what the Pistons, I'm not, going forward, my key highlights for what they need to do in the offseason: Andre Drummond needs to work on his game, like I said, to be a more dominant center and really start playing like a Dwight Howard or something in his prime. I think he has the ability to do it. I just think so many times he walks around like a zombie, and it's amazing that he gets the amount of offensive rebounds he does, because he's really not, he doesn't look like he's putting in that much effort. And I know looks can be deceiving, but I just don't see that fire when I watch him play. And I think if he gets that, I think he could be one of the greatest players of all time. And that's what I'm hoping for, because you're not going to be able to trade out of his contract. You kind of got to build from the middle, as these people have been saying. You don't have the luxury. You're not going to be able to get a lottery pick. As long as you have Blake Griffin and Drummond, they're going to be good enough to either make the playoffs or be the best team that's not in the playoffs and have a very low percentage chance of getting a high lottery pick. So I think you have to try and get as much as you can with the players you got. I like Luke Kennard going forward. I think he's developed tremendously. I like Ish Smith. I hope they can keep him. I'm not sold on Reggie Jackson yet. And probably everyone else is probably, dispensable on this team. Can't think of anyone who's really someone you can't do without. They've all had nice games this year, making that playoff push. But I don't think there's anyone other than those guys that I would focus on, feeling like you have to keep, long term. So that's it for this video. We'll see how next year goes, and we'll probably get a video on the draft coming up here, and start talking about what the Lions should do with their 8th pick and the future of their team as well. So that's it for this video, and thanks for listening. Like, comment, and subscribe. We appreciate it. Bye.